Thank you.
Um, so I'm going to introduce Sally Fierenzi. So Sally, if I pronounce your last name wrong, please correct me. So I came across Sally recently, and she's done some amazing work in the biomimicry space. And now she is a Learning Innovation Programs Officer from the Royal Botanic Gardens in Victoria. I think it's in Melbourne somewhere. But Sally has been with the learning team at the Royal Botanic Gardens for 10 years and has worked in the field of environmental education for 25 years, which is why we connect really well because I'm also in the education space. With an academic background in science and education, specialising in STEM education, she's passionate about creating innovative pathways for learning that connect people with the natural world. Her work has also included developing and delivering programs in the areas of marine water waste, sustainability, conservation, and gardens education, and more recently has focused on building STEM learning opportunities for schools through the Gardens Biomimicry and Plants for Space initiatives. So a little bit of a left field presentation today, but also nonetheless connects with everyone as well, which I think is fantastic because you can't can't do any extra learning if you're not educated or there's not these opportunities that are out there. So thanks, Sally. Welcome.
Hello. It took three goes to get me off mute, so apologies for that. I will just attempt to share my screen, and hopefully this will work. Actually, I need to share sound. I'm going to attempt to share a video or two. So hopefully, has that come up for you guys?
Yeah, all good.
Amazing. All right, let's see if I can get the rest of mine up as well. Right. So as Adele said, thank you so much for inviting me, Adele. It's so great to listen to the work that researchers are doing, because this really, I guess, shapes the work that we do in education, especially when you're teaching a complex topic like biomimicry. We need to tell the stories of the researchers that are out there. So I'm going to be talking about biomimicry learning, and I've called it that because it's not just the teaching we do of biomimicry, but it's really been around our biomimicry journey because it's been quite an interesting journey. When we started to dive into biomimicry, we found there wasn't much out there for schools in the way of biomimicry learning. And also, the schools that were learning about biomimicry didn't actually understand what biomimicry was. So, filling that space has been a real joy, a pleasure. It's been exciting. It's been challenging, and this is part of the story, I guess, we've got with biomimicry. Hopefully this works. There we go. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands on which we are, I guess, joining and sharing knowledge and information together. I'm coming from my home on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. These are the lands of the Bunurong people, so I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and of course acknowledge any First Nations people who might be here today. I'm going to tell you a bit about where I'm coming from and where we are coming from at the Royal Botanic Gardens. This is our classroom. So this is one of our beautiful classrooms that we get to teach from. Oh, by the way, I am joined somewhere online by one of my amazing colleagues, Amanda, who works in my team. Without her, all of this work that I'm going to talk about now does not happen. So I'd want to acknowledge her as well. But this is one of our classrooms, and this is our Melbourne Botanic Gardens, found in the heart of the Melbourne city. For any of you around the world who've been to Melbourne, it's a, bustling city. It's a beautiful city, but the green heart of the city is located at our botanic gardens, and it makes for a beautiful classroom, and it makes for learning um, about and in and for and from nature a real joy. Um, and this is our other classroom, which is in the southeast parts of Melbourne. It's our Cranbourne Gardens. It's a little bit different to our Melbourne Botanic Gardens, which is centered around plants from all over the world. And it is, the largest herbarium in the Southern Hemisphere and has our national seed bank located, etc. This is our Australian garden, and this focuses on native Australian plants. And if you are in Victoria at all, or in Australia and visiting Victoria, or an international person and visiting Victoria, please head down here if you want a taste of what Australian plants and Australian environments are like. This is a beautiful, beautiful space, and it's located on 1,000 acres, and it's a conservation space. It's just a beautiful space to be. And Terry, you said you're into gardening. If you haven't been down there, I expect that you will visit soon because it's beautiful. Um, what I guess what we like to pride ourselves on is being leaders in nature-based learning experiences. So I am a true educator. Whilst I did study science and a master's in environmental science, I are very much very passionate and focus all my energy around educating students in nature-based learning, and these days nature-based STEM learning. But we do provide learning opportunities for school students in the right from early childhood right through to a university level in nature-based experiences, whether it's nature play or climate change education or STEM education or First Nations culture education. We really cover all of these spaces very, very well. And one of the spaces we weren't covering so great was probably STEM education. And so when we talk about STEM education, this is not a new field for any of you guys, so I don't really have to go into the acronym at all. But um, we weren't really focusing on having a dedicated STEM learning program. However, our programs are all about learning in the natural world and using our classroom, our gardens as our base. So I guess the best way to look at that is that, the most powerful science laboratory in the world doesn't have to have microscopes, safety goggles, or walls. And it can be in nature itself. And it isn't just enough to learn about that. And a lot of the times when we teach nature based programs or you hear about people teaching environmental education, it's not the skill set of learning from. And this is what our biomimicry program is about. It's about learning from nature. So just a little bit more context there about how our biomimicry program fits in. We have loads of nature-based learning experiences, and if you're interested in finding out more, just jump on our website. I'll have the links later on. But our biomimicry program specifically, we've developed for the middle years students. So if you are from America or beyond, it's that K to 12 area that we focus on. Middle years, would be middle school in America, and then the early years, so the younger of the elementary school students as well. We offer professional development for teachers and other groups that are interested in learning about, I guess, the introduction to biomimicry. But why did we choose biomimicry as our way and as our avenue for nature-based learning? And I think this quote here from the Biomimicry Institute says it very well. The practice of biomimicry provides a rich framework for teaching that can be used to address a wide range of topics in science, engineering, sustainability, and environmental literacy. And I'm going to go through the framework we use for teaching biomimicry shortly and really to sort of, I guess, showcase why it is a fabulous platform for teaching younger people and getting them engaged in learning from the natural world and why it makes a beautiful STEM learning framework as well. I don't need to tell you what this is. You guys all know, which is so great. It's the first time I think I've ever run a workshop, and I've done so many in the last 5 years because that's how long I've been sort of teaching this biomimicry space. I don't have to say what biomimicry is. Two people have just done it before me, and most of you probably knew about it anyway. But this effectively is what tell our students, and we break down the word, we make it accessible for student learning, and we really talk about it being a design process, um, but and that gets them being creative and excited about being able to invent and create something, which we say they'll get a chance to do and be challenged with through our programs. And it is a beautiful way, whether it's through they look at sort of the chemistry component of how nature is working, or whether they look at the structural component. The function of nature is what is highlighted here, and they use that function in nature that they get an experience with that day to base their designs off. I guess some more context there is that whilst we are an education provider, we're not a school. So we provide education experiences and education excursions. We have some partnerships with schools. So we have short-term relationships with students. And so our goal is to be able to create experiences which are short and sharp and sort of get to the point of introducing a topic. And in this sense, we hope to provide the, I guess, the framework and or the baseline for what biomimicry learning looks like and what biomimicry is, so that their teachers might dive further into that. Or when we provide professional learning opportunities for teachers, they can start creating their bigger lesson plans and units of work around that. So biomimicry and understanding what the meaning is really important. So breaking apart these words, these students are young scientists in the making, and this is really their introduction to some of the language that's used when we talk about biomimicry. Why do we bother learning about biomimicry, and why is biomimicry, we think, an amazing way to contribute to the longevity of our planet? Well, I don't have to tell the story. You guys have already done it before me. Terry and Olivia have gone down this pathway already. Nature's principles, this is what we base, or life's principles, is what we base all of our biomimicry innovation around, and that is how nature works. And nature follows these principles. And the ethics components of biomimicry is around ensuring that it does have positive impacts on the planet in some way. So that's actually part of our design philosophy when we talk to our students, that when they come up with a design concept, it must help the planet or people in some way, and something for them to take into their design and their creation and their innovation and their invention, depending on what year level we're speaking to. So how does biomimicry relate to STEM learning? Well, it's a practice that learns from and, mimics the strategies found in nature to solve human design challenges. And it encapsulates integrated STEM learning by focusing on real world problem solving outcomes, systems thinking approach, etc. And it really focuses on the science of nature. So we can go in as scientists, we can go in as artists, we can go in as designers. Or we have so many different types of classes that come to our organisation or come to us and ask us to be part of this biomimicry program. They could have an art background. They could be a design and technology class. They could be a biology class. They could be an advanced STEM learning class. They could be doing a problem solving unit, and they want to find out a way, and they want to look at a different problem solving lens of which to, approach their problem solving. So we can really come in from all elements of I guess, that STEM medium. And, we hope that students, oh, that just went on its own. There we go. We just hope that students can really come away from our program by realizing that you can look to nature, but in looking to nature, they do have to create a connection, and I'll get to that in a moment. So I guess I'm going to play a little video now. Hopefully it will play for you guys. It was our first little marketing piece to teachers, but it sort of just gives you a bit of an idea of what we do at the gardens to, I guess, talk about biomimicry. Hopefully this works. Cross fingers.
What if there was a design guidebook with real-life examples that were sustainable, good for the planet, and accessible for everyone? Well, there is. It's called nature. There is much more to nature than first meets the eye, and by taking the time to really look at the plants, animals, and other organisms all around us, nature can help shape how we design, innovate, and live. Did you know the humble sunflower is an innovation superhero? Over time, sunflowers have evolved seed patterns that efficiently harvest solar energy and nutrients. And simply by copying these patterns, engineers have improved the efficiency of solar energy farms around the world. We use it regularly, but have you ever considered how Velcro came about? Well, you can thank Swiss engineer George de Mestral. In 1941, after trying to remove burrs from his dog, George decided to take a closer look at how they worked. The small hooks found at the end of the burr needles inspired him to create what we now know as Velcro. These are simple examples of what's known as biomimicry, and it's something that at Royal Botanic Gardens Victoria, we get very excited about. Biomimicry is the practice of observing what works in nature and copying it to solve problems, create, and innovate. Because nature is all around us, so too is the chance to learn biomimicry. And at Royal Botanic Gardens Victoria, we are leading the way in creating new experiences, led by expert educators, for people to learn the practice of biomimicry. So, if you want to learn how to apply biodesign principles, perhaps look at traditional STEM programs through a new lens, or find ways to bring nature and design together, then come and explore the range of biomimicry programs and resources offered across our gardens. There are likely to be countless design solutions already out there in nature.
It's always, oh, let me stop that one. So I guess that's what we sort of, send out to teachers. We have on our website to, I guess, encourage the learning of biomimicry and why it sort of fits with the STEM curriculum, and beyond that as well. And for those educators who are out there, it really fits in with a lot of different curriculum links. These are specifically for the Victorian curriculum, but obviously there's a lot of variation across the board. So I'm just going to bypass that. I wanted to break down what a biomimicry program looks like and I guess where it started for us. Back in 2019, we wanted to explore what nature-based STEM looked like, and we didn't feel there was many organizations doing that. And in schools, they really focused, STEM education was really focused around robotics and things that I don't know, me personally didn't find very interesting. And it was very repetitive. It was very, either screen centered or a robot centered. So we really wanted to look at what nature-based STEM looked like, and biomimicry fit the bill incredibly well. Um, our program is broken down with an introduction to biomimicry, and we tell stories like the stories you guys are telling, probably not so much in the detail the researchers have spoken about here, but it's exciting stuff when students go, oh, wow, does nature know how to do it like that? Oh, why don't we do it like that? And we hear them, going, oh, that's really cool. And oh, yeah, nature has been around for a really long time. Why do we think we know everything? When you've got 3.8 billion years of amazing knowledge that we somehow have to work out how to ask nature. And we talk about how we actually have to, how we do that. We can't just, say, yo, nature, tell me the answer and you're going to get something back. We have to teach these students to observe and stop. And that starts with connection. So we do start our programs with connection and teaching them how to observe. We sometimes have some tools and equipment. So we may use some binoculars or have a microscope sitting in the middle of our gardens, or have magnifying glasses there, or little jeweler's loops so that they can take them around. All these kinds of like minimal tools are scientific tools, but we sort of teach them how to go about observing and also to clear back some of the, that human cleverness that we come to the party with, and start looking at, things through a new lens. We also talk about what functionality is and relate that back to the words that they would know, like adaptation, etc. And then put that real design spin on it and say, well, if it works like this in nature, how could it work like that in a design idea? So those biomimicry stories really bring it together, and we challenge our students with the design challenge. This is kind of what it looks like in the flesh. May not make a lot of sense to you guys, but we start with stories. We literally have students finding really awesome parts of nature and looking at them through microscopes, and they love that. They go, wow, I've never looked at a leaf that way, or I've never looked at a seed pod that way, or I found this really amazing spider web, but it's doing this, and there's this little cool dude in there, and he's bright red. Why is he bright red? Where does he get his color from? How does, and all of these questions fly around, and it's the curiosity that runs and promotes and excites the program that we offer, and excites the concept of biomimicry, and gets these children really, really excited about being innovators and inventors. Um, I did mention that we started creating this program back in 2019, and we actually piloted this program in 2020. Our goal with our nature-based STEM learning programs was to be in the garden and face-to-face and making sure that students are literally touching and feeling and getting right up close with the natural world. And then we went into this thing called, I don't know, COVID pandemic, and it ruined everything because we had this beautiful plan to make this just, an amazing, in garden experience or in nature experience. What we did do in that process was actually able to create this version of this program online, which we did. We had some exceptional feedback from students and teachers because we just used some really great platforms. So we found, I guess, the magic recipe that worked for engaging with nature online, which sounds like a oxymoron, but it worked. And we had, I don't know, probably 2,000 students participate in this Design by Nature program in our online experience. We converted all of this and we still had great results with students coming up with really great designs. I'll show you some of their designs. Um, the way we go about it, because we have a very short period of time with these students, about 3 hours in our face-to-face program. In our online, we have less, about 2 hours, because it's hard work online, as we all know, we're literally experiencing right now. We showcase our garden and our plants. Our garden in itself is an encyclopedia, a living encyclopedia of living plants and animals and any other organisms that are found doing their thing in nature. And we highlight them for our students, and we do a bit of research for them so that we can condense the process of biomimicry for them, and provide them with these research cheat sheets, we call them. And these are a few of them. There's actually a few more, but you can see that we highlight Banksia plants and cactus and eucalyptus plants and xanthorrheas and ferns. And there is an animal on here, even though we're from a garden, because this is one of our endangered species at Cranbourne Gardens, but mistletoe. And we highlight the fabulous things that these guys can do and the functionality they have to survive in their challenging environments. And they use these functions to inspire their designs. And this is a really cool design. I thought I'd just highlight because it's really pretty, and someone went to great lengths to be a great artist and put their work together and send it to us. This was actually one of our online students who did this, by the way. They called it Echinopsis. Yeah, Echinopsis environment. Depends on how, Echino environment. I'm not sure. But it's an oil cleanup system, and it was based around the way this particular cactus work. These kids are incredible. These are a bunch of year 7 students, so 7th grade. We're talking 12, 13-year-olds. And it was a group, I think, of 3 students that came up with this after an online event. Actually, we ran the Design by Nature program through this online event platform called Hack the Cac. So we kind of, broke down all these cool different cactuses and said, right, come up with a really cool, environmentally friendly design. And we create this template for the students so that they can just follow the steps of how you would, I guess, come up with a cool design, and then get them thinking about, well, what's 3 things your design must do to be a success, but also how could it be, um, you know, uh, how could your design be more sustainable? What materials might you use so that it is a more sustainable outcome? And we do say that how will your design benefit people or the planet? Because that is part of the ethos of biomimicry, and they do it, and they love it, and they're excited, and they're creative, and they come up with stuff that I would never even thought to do. Here's a few more. We've got the expandable water tank. We've got fireproof buildings. So the expandable water tank has been inspired by the golden barrel cactus. Fireproof Buildings was inspired by the bunya bunya, which is an incredible native Australian, enormous ancient plant. Um, used to feed the dinosaurs, pretty cool. This spiral building, inspired by ferns and that Fibonacci sequence concept. We've got rapid resin repair that was inspired by the xanthorrhea, the grass tree. We've got this an eco-friendly and cooling tent. So they're thinking about the surface and how it works and all this sort of stuff. And that's been designed by Mistletoe. And then we've got this one over here. This, I can't remember who was it's inside. Oh, Mistletoe as well. And their final design is a Band-Aid, I think. But they've gone into this whole level of research that is just next level. They've talked about polysaccharides and the alkaloid group. They're talking about how it sticks, and it is so cool. They kind of start to venture into stuff that I don't really understand. So they are so intelligent. All these designs have been created by students as young as probably 8 or 9, right up to about 14 or 15. So you get a bit of an idea of, there is obviously a lot of variation amongst these, the complexity of these innovation ideas, but sometimes age does not guide us in and how complex or how creative a design can be from a group of students. So what do the students think? Well, this is just a screenshot of one of the little, what do we call these? Little word clouds that we had from a part of our online programming, and kids love it. They love the idea of being creative and being inspired, and it's it can be really, really fun. And we need more researchers that think like you guys, and we need to capture students when they're young. We need to tell them why it's important when they're young, so they carry it through their education, so that they take it through their careers and their professions. That's how we make a difference. So keep doing what you do, but tell your stories, because we as educators need to be able to tell your stories, and keep making it cool and fun and amazing, and all the things that these students are telling us that they are. This is our biomimicry teaching framework. So after we had great success from this program for about a year and a half, I pulled the program apart and thought, because I developed it with a colleague, she's not here today, but the original program, Designed by Nature, I developed with an amazing colleague of mine, Ella. And about a year and a half after that, I pulled the program apart and thought, well, what's making this a success? What's making it a success for teachers? What's making a success for students? And pulling it apart, sort of acknowledged that this is the process if we follow this teaching framework, um, in introducing the concept of biomimicry, but actually going through these steps, these practical steps, and then getting these students to go through a design challenge so that they can actually follow the skills that they've picked up along the way in this biomimicry learning journey, that will get some really great outcomes. And we will have long-term sort of outcomes of understanding what biomimicry is, and potentially, if nothing else, they've learned how to learn from nature, but hopefully maybe able to take that different lens through to whatever field they get into. And if we look at it from a STEM learning and a bit of a broader sort of educational component, or sort of, a bit of a background, we look at the better pedagogical sort of component of it. The STEM literacy is there. You can cover so many areas of STEM learning. The soft skills are there, those 21st century skills that we want our young people to make sure they come out of their learning journeys with, so that they are employable and they're creative and they're agile researchers and explorers like yourselves. Um, and there's just so much more. So it really does hit the mark when it comes to STEM learning, and is fun and impactful when it comes to teaching. We were able to go a little bit further into our journey through these other spaces as well. And, we do these online events that we do as well, which is open to every student. We have international students participate in these, and students from all over Australia participate. This is a beautiful young group of students who we had a partnership with, who I absolutely adore, and worked with. I'm not going to show you their video, but if you ever want any more information or want to see what these guys have done, I will show you. I'm going to try and push past this before it goes to, it's not going to do it. Just going to try and stop this from going up. There we go. Uh-oh. Going to move on from that slide. There we go. We got these students to participate in an international Biomimicry Youth Design Challenge, and they came third place, and they came up with this product called Bird of Prey, but it's actually a really cool drone that can detect cigarette butts on the surface of water through mimicking the eyesight of owls and other really cool birds of prey. But also they have local pelicans because they're a local coastal school. And they have big pelicans that come down. So their idea was that they would come down, this drone would come down and collect the cigarette butts, but it had to be able to detect them and then hold on to them like a pelican. And so this is the drone that they had created. There's a lot of issues with their pure design, but the idea is how do they mimic what the natural world does and what they can come up with. So pretty cool stuff. We have an early years program we created. We needed to understand what in biomimicry, how can we get students who aren't just sort of at that analogical reasoning stage, so that middle years primary school age, how do we get kids younger than that understanding or exploring their curiosity for the natural world and going further with that? And we found it centered around wonder. It's about wonder and curiosity. And we come up with this program called I Wonder Why. Again, I'm not going to go into this program. I'm going to try and push past that. But if you want to know more, you can jump on our website and you can see the details, and I can leave links places if you're interested. But it's all about slowing down, connecting. And I tell you, we have 5-year-olds inventing things that are inspired by the natural world. These are some of our gorgeous little designs from our little 5-year-old and 6-year-old students. They're recognizing this is a seed pod, a Banksia seed pod, and they can see that it opens and closes. So they sort of went, oh, we can use that concept. We could design a new organizer that sort of, that's how that could look. So they're starting to, it's about jumping over that, being able to emulate. That is a really tricky step for young people to be able to say, how does something in nature work? How can my design work that way? It is super tricky. And to have 5-year-olds work that out, and then go, oh, nature is really cool at the same time. You've got some really creative students on our hands who are going to come up with some really awesome things. We came up with some more programs which filled all the gaps. Hopefully I can get past all these things. Oopsie days, sorry, I'm jumping around. But we now have this great suite of biomimicry programs that we offer, lots of resources for teachers. We've been asked to speak at multiple conferences and run workshops in different places, and we've had a lot of interest from interstate and international gardens to be able to potentially talk about what STEM learning is in this space and how biomimicry can really be something that students can have the chance to learn in a face-to-face way in gardens and in natural areas. So watch this space. But I guess I wanted to sort of leave with the reality that at the moment we've got some funding through the Department of Education in our state and through another Department of Education as well. That ends at the end of this year. It doesn't mean our programs disappear. They've sort of made their own momentum, and schools actually pay for these programs now. But we want to be able to reach as many students as we can, and we want to sort of spread what, this teaching framework for biomimicry and how it can impact the natural world and how it can have a long-term sort of sustainability education message associated with it. So I want to leave you with this little ditty. As much of our world is designed by people who have never taken a biology class. Maybe that's a chemistry class, maybe that's any science class in nature. And yet there are endless ideas and inspiration that we can learn from in nature and will likely make this world better in doing so.